So I was reading this article, and pretty much what it said was that there was 1 million people in Toronto had one single investment make them over $300,000 last year alone. And I want to talk a little bit about why this is a good and bad thing. Okay, we got to lock up here. There we go, we're all locked. If you guys know me, I have no problem with people gaining wealth, making as much money as they want, because usually it's a sign of reciprocal altruism, meaning that you're doing something good for the world. But this is one of those cases where it just probably isn't. Now, where's the lights here? So I'm going to talk a little bit about this story about how a lot of people made about 300 grand this year while doing absolutely zero work for it, and why this is kind of killing a lot of young people. There's the lights. There we go. We got it. So let me tell you a little bit of a story. A couple years ago in Vancouver, housing prices just started going absolutely through the roof. Like they were getting, 10% increases in home value every 3, 4, 5 months, which is absolutely insane. No one could quite figure out why this was happening until about a year into this process. The government started figuring out that the reason why home values were going up so much wasn't because of anything that Canadians were doing. It wasn't because of anything that banks were doing. Wasn't because of anything that the government was doing. It was because of foreign buyers. Now, for those of you that don't know about the Vancouver housing crisis that happened last year, 2 years ago, there's actually a great kind of mini documentary on Vice. I forget what it's called, but it's like Vancouver's ghost town. So what happened in Vancouver was all these foreign buyers were coming in and just swooping up Vancouver real estate with zero repercussions. Now, that's okay if they're buying the house and then living in it, but what ended up happening was that they were buying these houses. Okay, here we're in the studio now. They were buying these houses and not living in them. So what was happening was that they were, obviously buying up these houses, but they weren't providing housing to anyone in Vancouver. So the housing market started becoming this ghost town where prices were just skyrocketing, and yet no one was living in the houses that were being bought, because it was all these mainly Chinese millionaires, multimillionaires, and billionaires were buying up this Vancouver real estate as just kind of a safe place to put their money. You know what happens when there is more demand for housing, so there's more people that need housing, yet there's less of a supply of houses because all of these houses are being bought out by, Chinese billionaires that aren't living there. That's what was causing the housing prices to just absolutely skyrocket. So the government finally found out that was the cause of why this housing market was just absolutely insane. So what they did last year was they slapped on a foreign buyer tax, meaning that if you weren't born in Canada or if you weren't living there in Vancouver, you would be hit with substantial taxes. I don't know what the exact number was, but it was between 10 and 40% of whatever the purchase price or property value was. So the same week where that happened, you saw that Vancouver real estate prices started to kind of plateau and eventually decline to the point where it is now, where the new listings in Vancouver are actually at an 8-year low, which is it's the lowest since the recession hit in 2009, 2008 or so. So that taxation, that foreign buyer tax worked. So what ended up happening? Well, those same Chinese billionaires that had that tax hit on them in Vancouver, they just decided to let's just start buying places in Toronto, because that is the economic hub of Canada. So surprise, surprise, what ended up happening? Toronto real estate prices started going through the roof. And that's what this video title is about. So how did 100,000 people, a few 100,000 people, or 1 million people end up having their wealth increase by $300,000 last year? Well, it was in large part thanks to those Chinese billionaires that ended up moving their money from Vancouver to Toronto. So the numbers that I found were that the average property in Toronto, I'm not talking about detached homes like single family homes, I'm talking the average property price, the average real estate price, whether it's condos, townhomes, single detached, whatever, duplex, whatever it is, that average price was $685,000 last year. And that number today, 1 year later, is about 30 to 40% higher, went up to about 910,000, I think the number was. I forget the exact number. But pretty much what happened is if you owned a piece of real estate, an average piece of real estate in Toronto last year, you had your wealth go up by $300,000 without doing anything. And considering that the average income in Toronto is about $70,000, people made about 4 to 5 times as much money from their one real estate investment than they would have by their job that they go to every single day. That is absolutely insane. And so why is this good and why is this bad? I'm going to give you the 2 reasons. One, it's really good for old people that bought houses. I mean, they just got an extra $300,000 pumped right into their retirement. So that's absolutely amazing. That's also assuming that they sold their property, because this market's been absolutely on fire. They could hold on to the property and then have it go down in value like you've seen it in Vancouver. So good. If you're above the age of 50 and you bought that home many years ago, you're doing just fine. Good for you. Why is this bad for people my age? And there is a little bit of incompetence from the government of Ontario, and I'm gonna explain why. And man, this just really hit young people hard. So if you guys have been watching my channel for the past few months, you guys know that I want to invest in real estate, and I want to, purchase a duplex, triplex, single family home, whatever. I just want to buy a place in general, and it's going to be my first property that I own by myself. You've also heard me talk about how difficult it is to get a mortgage because of some changes that the government decided to make. The government of Ontario decided that the reason why Toronto housing prices have gone up $300,000 in 1 year, they didn't think it was from foreign buyers. No, they thought it was from young people. So what did they end up doing? Instead of slapping on a foreign buyer tax, which helped plateau the Vancouver real estate market, which was proven to be absolutely effective, what they decided to do was make it tougher for young people ages 20 to 35. They decided to make it much tougher for that age group to buy a house in Ontario. So they didn't slap on the foreign buyer tax. What they decided to do was they made it much tougher for anyone with a 20% down payment or less. They made it much tougher for that group to purchase a home, which is young people, because young people don't have that much money saved up. So what this did was it made the amount of home that a young person can afford, they pretty much made it so that a young person cannot buy a home in Toronto, because the average home price is essentially $1 million now, meaning that you'd have to save up $200,000 to buy it for a down payment. Plus you'd have to be making, I don't know what the number, about $150,000 to $250,000 per year, which just most young people can't do. So I've kind of given you the 2 sides to this. One of which, the people that bought that home, that bought that investment, a few years ago, or even 5, 10 years ago, or during the recession, or whatever, they made about $300,000 in 1 year, and they've made roughly $500,000 in the past 8 years, maybe 6. It depends on the house, right? But they've made 300 grand this year by doing absolutely nothing. And I've given you the other side, where now young people specifically can't buy a home because the government decided that it was young people's fault, and that they should tighten up the qualifications and the restrictions on people that don't have a 20% down payment. Now, most of you in the United States and a lot of provinces, in English, a lot of people in those places that aren't in Ontario, you know that you only need a 5% down payment if you're a first-time home buyer. That's not really the case in Toronto anymore. You have to have a 20% down payment, or else you won't be able to purchase the average priced home or even a below average priced home. Now this absolutely pisses, oh Jesus, I almost fell there, fuck. This absolutely pisses me off, because I'm making a very good income. I'm probably gonna do about $100,000 to $150,000 somewhere in there this year. And yet, I won't be able to qualify for a mortgage for an average priced home. Yet if I were allowed to have the same mortgage rules that applied 2 years ago, I would more than qualify for a loan or a mortgage from any company that I walk into. So that is kind of the tale of the 2 sides here, one of which foreign buyers are causing the people who already own houses to get very wealthy very quick, and it causes people that are looking to buy their first house, it causes us to pretty much not be able to have that investment and causes us to either rent or live with our parents or whatever it may be. And it just really, really sucks. I guess the other option is, which for me, I'm probably going to take, is moving away from Toronto, because you just can't buy a place here. You can't live here at this current second. So hopefully the government realizes that it's not young people causing this problem, and it's not people with less than a 20% down payment causing this problem. It's a lot of foreign buyers and multimillionaires. Like, there was one video I was watching from the Canadian News, and it was most houses, even though their prices have been skyrocketing by 33% this year, most homes have 5, 10 offers or more, and there's a bidding war on all those overpriced homes already. So it's tough, and I know that this problem has happened in New York, it's happened in San Francisco, it's happened in LA, it's happened in a lot of major cities in the world, it's happened in London, excuse me. And I just hope that this problem can get solved quickly. It's also good for real estate agents too, by the way. I mean, I know I kind of just got out of that career path, but it's good and bad. Good thing is that real estate agents make more money per deal, but two, it's caused more people to get their real estate license. So I've actually looked at the statistics, and in the last few years, in the last 3 or 4 years, there's been an increase by about 250% in the amount of people that got their real estate license, which makes it much more competitive, yet makes it more lucrative if you can do well. So this is also something to think about for wherever you're from. I mean, is there a hot real estate market wherever you are, whatever state you're in, whatever province you're in, whatever country you're in? Is there a super hot real estate market that you're just being priced out from? Or maybe one where you've already bought a place and you're seeing your wealth go up exponentially? So leave a comment down below. I'd like to thank you very much for watching. This is kind of a vlog style video because I just got into the office. I don't even know what I'm going to talk about today. I saw this article and I was like, man, I have to talk about this because it just absolutely sucks if you're living in Toronto right now as a young person. So yeah, I'd like to thank you very much for watching. Remember to subscribe, leave a like, all that good stuff. I love all your faces. You're all very beautiful people. I'll see you guys in the next video. Da, da, da.